What's going on YouTube? This is Chop Celery, and in this video I wanted to review my Adrenaline Assassin build for Dragon Age Inquisition, specifically for a Nightmare difficulty run. This build has been so much fun to play around with. I named it the Adrenaline Assassin just because this build is really tailored towards coming and attacking out of stealth, which is going to be an automatic crit. So there's some really big critical hit damage numbers that are popping up within combat. So it just feels like an adrenaline rush. You just want to keep getting more of them. So just in the build video, I'll review just the skills that I end up picking up, and I'll explain some of the pretty important passive skills that make the synergies between the different skill trees possible. I'll review my main weapons, the 2 daggers, and then kind of just give an idea as to what stats, if you're going to craft your own equipment, what stats you should really try to focus on. And then I will briefly go over my rotation and just kind of why I do the actions that I do, or like how I approach combat, just to make best use out of this build. So without further ado, we'll jump right into it. So we'll start on the assassin skill tree. So out of the 3 skills, I only end up picking up 2. However, I only use 1. I only use Hidden Blades, and then the upgrade I use is Overkill. So it just gives a little bit more damage, so 3 additional hits at 300% weapon damage, and the cooldown is shortened by 4 seconds. So I can use it a little bit more often, which is pretty good. The passive I was never here, so when you kill an enemy, your cooldown on your stealth ability is completely reset, so that's a good one to have. And then I feel like this Knife in the Shadows, this passive, is probably one of the most important out of this tree. So when you come out of stealth, you're automatically going to land a critical hit. So that's absolutely awesome. And our build is mainly just going to be focusing on appearing and attacking out of stealth, and then immediately trying to get back into stealth. So that's really, that passive makes our this passive makes our build possible. So the next passive, Throat Cutter. So when an enemy, for every 10% of an enemy's health that they're missing, you're going to deal 2% per every 10. So just more damage you'll unlock, the lower that they get towards, closer they get towards dying. Knockout Bomb, I have it unlocked, but I don't use it. That's just something I'm going to be playing around with a little bit more. But the other passive in this tree, Gaps in the Armor, you gain an additional armor penetration by 25%. So you're just going to be able to deal more damage. So always a good one to have. For the double daggers, there are 3 abilities that I end up picking up: Flank Attack, Twin Fangs, and Death Blow. So Flank Attack, it's a decent, just, initiating strike. I use this attack with the upgrade Skirmisher. So when you do a flank attack, you are actually able to go right back into stealth upon doing this, assuming that you connect with both strikes. So definitely a good one to get you back out of harm's way. I pick up Twin Fangs, and the upgrade is Ripping Fangs. So when I attack an enemy from behind, it's going to do 100% more bonus damage, and their armor is going to be sundered, aka weakened, for the next 8. So there's going to be more susceptible to physical attacks, which is good. Dance of Death, when you kill an enemy, you're going to regain stamina. So this is just how we keep our rotation going. Sneak Attack, when you do attacking them from the back or flanking, they're much more likely to be a crit. And then Death Blow. So for this, and you deal 300% weapon damage, but you do 3% bonus damage for every 1% of your enemy's health that's missing once they hit 50% health threshold or below. So this can really pull off a lot of damage. The upgrade I chose was Thrill of Victory, so just going to deal an extra 100% weapon damage for this ability. So coming out of stealth and using this, especially doing like a flanking attack or a backstab, you're really going to pull off a lot of damage. So this is one of my go-tos. I don't pick up anything in the archery tree. For Sabotage, I do pick up Caltrops, but I don't use it. I was mainly just going for this passive. Looked like it hurt, so whenever you score a critical hit, you're going to regenerate stamina. So that's just going to be able to help us with sustainability in this build. For the Subterfuge tree, I do pick up all of the abilities. So Stealth, obviously that's what we're going to use to set up our attacks. Lost in Shadows, I like this one because it removes all debilitating effects. And it's an instant cast, so that's really good. Evasion, you just have a higher chance of evading an attack. evade the actual ability. It's like a leaping kind of rolling attack. I was testing this just to see, like with Shadow Step, the upgrade that I have, if it would throw me back into stealth, and it doesn't. So I don't really use evade a whole lot, especially because now it does not, at least the upgrade I chose, Shadow Step, doesn't throw me back into stealth. So ambush, this passive is pretty decent. So when you're coming out of stealth and shortly, when you're in stealth, excuse me, and shortly after leaving it, your attacks are going to ignore some of your target's armor. So we're going to get a further 50% armor penetration, which is good. So that way our backstabs are going to be, they're going to be incredibly high. Shadow Strike, this is another one of my main go-tos. Does 400% weapon damage, and if you're targeting an enemy that does not have you targeted, you'll regain your stamina. So 70 stamina restored once using this attack, so that's pretty good. The upgrade I chose was Quick Blade, so you're just going to deal an extra 200% bonus damage when either you're in stealth or you haven't taken damage recently. So that threshold of not taking damage is 5 seconds. The only other ones, easy to miss, so it just reduces your threat so you don't draw aggro and like have the enemies focusing on you too much. Knockout Powder, I was just using this to put enemies to sleep because of this passive. So when enemies are panicked or sleeping, they're automatically going to be hit with a crit. So I figured even if I can't get into stealth, I at least can knock them out, put them to sleep, and then do Twin Fangs from behind. So it will be a crit attack, just not coming from stealth. So that's kind of an alternative just in case you don't have stealth is still on cooldown. So that was all of the skills that I use, and I pointed out a lot of the passive skills that I feel between the synergy the trees will give you more synergy and just makes your build a little bit more viable. Now, in terms of my equipment, the weapons that I'm using, I did craft both of these. So in my offhand, it just shows that I give myself more armor penetration, more flanking damage bonus, as well as I get to move faster movement speed while in stealth. I believe that's my masterwork rune or masterwork slot. And then for the main hand, again, more armor penetration. I'd give myself a little bit of attack and then an increased flanking damage bonus with an increased maximum stamina by 15. So I would really recommend focusing on any kind of flanking damage bonus or like critical hit damage bonus, just because you know coming out of stealth and a lot of the attacks that we have for incapacitated enemies, it's going to be a critical hit. So anything that you can really boost up that critical hit damage, your numbers are really going to, like your damage is going to spike. So that's what I would recommend, at least for your main weapons. Same thing with like any kind of armor. I did craft my armor. I just gave more kind of defense, magic, melee, ranged, and then for the masterwork, I put on just 10% chance to use hidden blades on a hit with 5 added hits. So that has procced a couple times. It just increases with putting out more damage. So, but that has been my skills. That's been my equipment. And now I'm going to just go ahead and kind of walk you through my rotation. All right, so now let's just go ahead and talk about my rotation. So typically I'll do hidden blades. And while that is happening, I'll put myself back into stealth. I'll use sneak attack. Usually that does a decent amount of damage to an enemy. From there, I'll just go back into stealth, reassess what's happening, and as you saw, that enemy was easy to flank, and they weren't focusing on me, so that was my next target. It put me back into stealth, and now, alright, we're just going to keep attacking so I can show you guys stuff. So, Twin Blades, it's leaving their armor sundered, which is good. I'll do flank attack, just so I can put me back into stealth, and then I will do sneak attack. Oh, I missed. I'll do sneak attack. Oh, I still missed. God darn. Alright, well, you get I keep missing. You get the gist. Alright, that is jeez. Alright, but whenever you can, try to put yourself back into stealth, and or get the enemy stunned. So like the knockout powder, putting them to sleep, and then like attacking them, flanking them with twin blades, you're automatically going to crit. So it's almost as if you would be in stealth. Okay, so just whenever you can, try to get a status effect on an enemy and focus on getting yourself back into stealth with this build, because that's how you're going to deal the most damage, both through crits and flanking damage. So, all right.